Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, January 2nd, 2016. This is episode 1249. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Brand new year, brand new show. Happy New Year to you. I hope you survived. It's nice to not have to do a show on January 1st. Gives us a day to recoup. And here we are, a little bit more into the year. It's funny. One of the jokes everybody tells, right, when there's a new year is, and it happens. I've forgotten I wrote last year on the check. But then I realized, as years have gone by, we write fewer and fewer checks. When's the last time you wrote a check? Maybe I'm unusual. I might do 3 checks a year, and it's very rare, and it's usually for, I guess, service people who come by, and the Culligan guy's changing the, he wants he wants check or cash, but usually I write him a check. That's about it. So it's maybe a few times a year I write a check, and that's it. So I think we're going to have to come up with a new, it's a new year joke. I noticed that even the folks who come around, the service people who come around, more and more have devices, tablets. They have an invoice on the tablet, and they'll have a Square or some other swiping thing. There's even the new swiping devices take chip cards too, so you can either swipe the card or stick it in the slot and leave it there. This is, by the way, this is the year of chip and sign. Chip and pin will be coming, I hope, sometime soon. This is a technology for credit cards that is more, they say, more secure and is used all over the world. Not been my experience necessarily that it's more secure. I think, in fact, you could make a case that, it's harder to make a fake credit card, but who the heck uses credit cards to steal anymore, right? All they need is the number and the name and the expiration date and that number on the back, and they don't really need a physical plastic card. So I don't know if this is going to make it more secure or not. We shall see. Yes, it's already time to talk about new phones. I thought we'd get a respite, but no. Because first of all, here comes CES. Usually they don't announce new phones at CES. But right on the heels of the Consumer Electronics Show, which is coming up this week in Las Vegas, is the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, and then IFA in Berlin. They kind of go boom, boom, boom in the first few months of the year. And we see usually a lot of new phones. Rumors are strong that the Galaxy S7, the new Samsung device, will be announced. And lo and behold, and I can only imagine Apple's reaction to this. They're going to have some sort of pressure sensitivity, the rumor is, on the new S7 that will let you press harder to get a context-sensitive menu, which is exactly what Apple introduced, first ever to do it, on the iPhone 6S. I was reading an article about this, and they said, it's blatant theft, right? It's copying, absolutely. Samsung has paid almost $500 million to Apple for copying Apple's designs. That's interesting. Not stealing Apple's patents, but copying Apple's designs. I don't know if Apple has a patent on 3D Touch, the Force Touch that is on the iPhone 6, but no doubt Apple will go after Samsung, and the case will drag out over a few years, and maybe Samsung even will have to pay Apple something. But the truth of the matter is there's a chance to make enough money so that it doesn't matter. That, in fact, you can copy somebody unless the company gets an injunction. If you copy a Louis Vuitton bag and try to smuggle them into the country, Louis Vuitton can get a restraining order, a summary judgment from a judge that says, stop those right away. And Samsung has tried to do that with Apple. Or rather, Apple has tried. It's confusing. Apple has tried to do that with Samsung, but not effectively. They've tried to stop Samsung sale in the U.S. of devices they claim copy Apple devices. They did win, though. They won $500 million, and Samsung taking it to the Supremes. They say, well, Here's the problem. A jury of 12 people can't really be a jury of your peers when it comes to design patents. See, there's patents at patent processes. Apple has a patent, for instance, on swipe to unlock. You know, that feature where you turn on the phone and then you swipe your finger across it. They patented that. And it's pretty straightforward. If they go after Samsung, which did copy it, they say, look, this is our patent. You have to license it from us. You didn't. And that's all fairly straightforward. And I think a jury can be trusted, in most cases, to judge on that. Well, there's some argument about that. But a little bit more difficult for a jury to understand a design patent. Design patents are about the way a thing looks and feels. And it's much more subjective. The design patents for the iPhone, you know, include square, rounded corners on rectangles. We own that. And I think it's hard for, I really do think it's hard for juries to say, well, are they allowed to own it? And the judge is supposed to say, you know, the judge is supposed to instruct the jury. Samsung's contention, and the reason they're taking it to the Supreme Court, is that's not possible. The judge doesn't know anything about design. The jury doesn't know anything about design. It's not common sense. And they want their $500 million back. But they've written a check. So we're just looking a little bit of stuff that's coming up. A new phone from Samsung. A new lawsuit from Apple, probably. What else? What else? There will be a fight this year, I think, over encryption, over your ability and my ability to participate on the internet privately. Encryption is very simple, the idea of scrambling something so that only you and the person, the intended recipient, can read it. Nobody in between can. And that seems like a fundamental right. I understand, and certainly viscerally we all understand that if bad guys use this to plan their heinous deeds, well, you know, that makes it hard for law enforcement to see what they're doing. But remember, bad guys have always been able to gather in secret and whisper to one another. Law enforcement might well want to put microphones in everybody's house, but that's not going to happen. Well, we can't hear what's going on inside people's houses. We need to hear, otherwise we can't thwart terrorism. They're not proposing that. They say we just want the same capabilities we have with the phone network, where with a court order we can tap the phone network. But it's not just phone calls we're talking about. It's emails. It's conversations you have with your bank, with Amazon, with any. Those are all encrypted. And what they want to do is either have a backdoor into the encryption, which is dangerous because if there's a backdoor, other entities can find it and take advantage of it. You don't want the bad guys to eavesdrop on your banking transactions. And I think some people believe that the government doesn't have the right to kind of just violate our privacy willy-nilly. It's an interesting debate. That will be, I think, one of the big debates this year. Meanwhile, right before the holiday break for Congress, they made a deal, which we're glad. I mean, they made a deal that would not stop the government. They have a budget. And President Obama has signed the budget into action. But you know what they do with these budgets? The Omnibus Appropriations Bill. It's 500 pages. And in those pages, they can sneak stuff in. And they did. They snuck something in that we've been trying to fight called CISA. C-I-S-A. I want to say the computer, what does that stand for? The Computer Intelligence and Surveillance Act, something like that. It's law now. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. That's actually more truthful, which is why I didn't think that could be possibly the name. It describes exactly what it is. It's a bill, and this went into the appropriations budget. This is a bill that allows companies to share information about what you're doing with the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the NSA, and maybe even more importantly, and I think maybe one of the reasons companies secretly lobbied for this, allows them or prevents them from being sued by us for revealing secret information. Just a word of warning. There's nothing private this year. Happy New Year. We're going to take your calls. 8888 Ask Leo. We go to the phones right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. taking some calls. Our first call of the new year. How about that? We've got Kim Schaffer here answering the phones. Hello, Kim. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And okay, now this is a very important job you have here. Picking the first call of the new year. This, I just want to warn you, this will set the tone for the following 363 days. Everything you do here is huge, is hugely important. There is who should I talk to?
Well, I don't think Kenny in Temple, Texas got a brand new phone for Christmas because he wants to know if he can update an older phone to Marshmallow.
Ah, Marshmallow. Hello, Kenny. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. How are you today?
Oh, hello. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks a lot. What can I do for you?
Yes, I have a old Galaxy S4 from Sprint, and I'm using it as a, just a Wi-Fi connected device, and I wanted to know if I can upgrade it to the latest Android, somehow unlock it or whatever.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. But so here's the deal. In order to do this, you have to root it. Step one. That means give yourself super user, administrator, or root. They're all the same. Permissions. You need to be able to do anything you want to the phone, because in order to put the latest version of Android on there, unless Samsung pushes it out, but I don't think they will.
It's 5.01.
Yeah, they're probably stopped there. They said, that's good enough. We gave them Lollipop. What more could you ask for? But you want Marshmallow. You do. There's a lot of reasons you want Marshmallow. So the first step is to root it. And that means that gives you permission to do whatever you want. Now, Samsung, unlike some other phones, doesn't encourage rooting phones. This is, this phone's older. You're not using it as a phone. It's not going to be an issue. The reason Samsung discourages it is they have a security model on there. They call it Knox, as in Fort Knox. And you can use it for Samsung Pay. You can use it to protect and encrypt data for your company, things like that. And if a phone has been rooted, it means that somebody could put malicious software on there that would ruin the security model. So it's not that they won't, open the door. You don't care, but they want to make sure that if you're trusting the phone, that you understand that by rooting it, the trust has been broken. And so they have a thing called a triangle counter that keeps track of whether you've rooted it and whether you've modified the firmware. You're going to trip that. That's fine. Doesn't mean anything. Just means that if you're using some of the secure features of Knox, those won't work. You won't be able to use Samsung Pay. But it sounds like you don't care about that.
No, it's just a Wi-Fi device.
Yeah. So rooting at step one. Step two is putting what we call a custom recovery on it. And that means you're going to put some software on there that allows you to modify the operating system or firmware. And the operating system on smartphones is stored in not hardware, not software, but firm. It's in between hard and soft. It's firm. And what that means is modifiable, but not easily modified. And it persists across reboots. And, even if the battery dies, it'll persist. So you're going to modify the firmware. Now, there's a couple of choices in that regard. There probably is somewhere a kind of pure Marshmallow version for that S4, but most likely you're going to put a custom ROM on it that's probably something like CyanogenMod. That's the most popular. CyanogenMod 13 is based on Marshmallow. It is effectively a pure Marshmallow with some nice features. It's certainly a good thing to do. So you'll put a custom recovery, and then you'll have to download and recover to CyanogenMod 13, and now you'll have Marshmallow and some nice features. The process I just described is the kind of high-level roadmap of what you're doing, but the details vary dramatically from device to device. So here's where you're going to go to get that information. It's XDA Developers, xda-developers.com. And it's a great forum.
XDA.
XDA. You can even just Google XDA, and you'll probably jump right to it. It's the best-known place for modifying Android devices. You're going to search for the exact device you have. So they have a device search in the forum. You're going to go to XDA Developers Forum, and you can actually, the first thing it says is, what phone do you have? Now, you don't just want to say S4. You want to say the actual model number, because Samsung makes models for a variety of different geographic regions. The steps you take may vary. This is true for anybody who's modifying the firmware on a phone. You want to make sure you match exactly, even down to, you know, is it the Singapore or the Latin America edition? So go into your About settings and look and see what the model number is. Usually it's an SM, and then it will be at 905A or something like that. So you want to get that model number, enter that in, and you'll go to the part of the forum that people talk about that particular model. And usually pinned to the top of it will be all the information you need to root, put a custom recovery on, and then modify the firmware. It's probably not hard, but it might require a PC, Windows or Mac, and a USB cable to get in there. Usually that's how it happens. You could also Google, and in fact somebody in the chat room did this, how to put CM13 on a Galaxy S4. And it's another way to find this information. But I trust XDA developers. You got to be a little bit careful about where you get this information from. You don't want somebody to hack your phone. Does that all kind of make sense?
Thank you very much.
That's the 30,000-foot version of this. Yeah, it's fun to do, you know. And then it's nice having an older phone. The S3, for instance, very hackable. And then you can play with different ROMs. You can see which one you like, because this is one of the things a lot of hobbyists do is they write their own version of Android for various handsets. And there's some really great stuff out there. Sometimes, you know, the bleeding edge stuff, the newer beta stuff, the pre-test stuff will sometimes be flaky. So you want to read carefully the release notes to see if it says, you know, does everything work? Is GPS working? That's often something that breaks. Sometimes the cameras break. But often this is, you know, it's kind of akin to putting Windows 10 on a Windows XP machine or a Vista machine. It's often a new lease on life. But you have to do it carefully, because what we don't want to do is brick the phone. That's the slang word for turning your lovely multi-$100 device into something that's worth no more than a brick. You don't want to brick it. Most of the time you can't. Most of the time you'll hack it, you'll modify it, but you don't want to brick it. Hey, have fun though. XDA-developers.com is a really good site. It's actually, if you're kind of, even if you're kind of intrigued by this, you can read the guides there on how to root your phone and things like that. Rooting is the first step, and sometimes the only step people will take, because there is some software, backup software, software that improves battery life, things like that, that require root access. But understand that when you root a phone, it's potentially risky. Oh, see, that was a good, thank you, Kim. That was a great way to start 2016 with a hacking call. But this is the kind of hacking. By the way, the Librarian of Congress, no less than the Librarian of Congress, has said that this is a completely legal thing to do. You're not violating anybody's copyright or terms of service because you own the phone, and it's yours to mess with. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. He is Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guru. You'll find him on the AVS forum at avsforum.com. You'll also find him at twit.tv/HTG. That's the home of the Home Theater Geek podcast. And he is one. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
It's going great. So here we are, brand new year, 2016.
2016. Can you believe it?
Wow. Wow. I say that every year, but really, wow, this year.
It goes faster. This year went so fast, I couldn't believe it.
What's going to be the big story in 2016? Is it going to be 4K, HDR?
It's going to be HDR, I think, really.
What's that?
Well, high dynamic range. Now, 4K we've had in TVs now for a number of years, and we've seen them at CES, you know, quite a bit. One of the big stories at CES is going to be Ultra HD Blu-ray. We're going to have the next generation of optical disc.
Weren't we supposed to have that last year?
We were supposed to have it at the end of 2015, yes. But like many such things, it got delayed.
Yeah.
But Samsung announced one, Panasonic announced one. They're going to be expensive. The Samsung one, I think, they were talking about $500. So that's, expensive,
Yeah,
but the first Blu-ray players were expensive.
Yeah, cheaper than the first Blu-ray players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were more like $1,000.
Right.
And the Ultra HD Blu-ray will have 4K or Ultra HD resolution, of course, but they will also have high dynamic range. And this high dynamic range is so important. To me, it's more important than the number of pixels on the screen. Because it takes the difference between the deepest black and the brightest white and increases that range. So you get lower blacks even and higher brights. And the result, if you have content that has been what's called graded in high dynamic range, and you play it on a display that has high dynamic range capability, then what you see is remarkable. I have never failed to be impressed by high dynamic range content on a high dynamic range display. Far more important than 3D, because it almost takes on a dimensional character in the high dynamic range. It's why one of the reasons it's so important. It gives the image more pop, more just presence. It's really quite remarkable. You really need to see it in order to appreciate it fully.
We've seen, and I think this unfortunately muddies the waters, HDR still photos that look like paintings. And so I think that sometimes people think that HDR video is going to look hyper real. It's not going to look hyper real, is it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
it's going to look more real. It's going to look like because your eye can see through kind of trickery. Your eye can see dark and bright. If you're a sunset, for instance, and the sun is of course very bright, your eye's looking at the sky. But as soon as you look down at the sand, your iris is going to open up. It's going to your pupil's going to dilate, and you're going to get more light in, and you'll be able to see the detail in the sand.
That's right.
So we get the impression that we're seeing a higher dynamic range than in fact our eye's capable of. But now this video will actually do that without any modification of your pupil. It'll have the darks will be brighter, and the brights will be darker, and the lighter will be lighter. And I'm messing this up terribly.
Well, it's absolutely true.
But it'll look more real.
It will.
Not less real.
Yeah, the current video system only has a dynamic range of, I think, 2 or 3 f-stops, if you want to think in terms of cameras. And these high dynamic range, it's really not much at all. Yeah. And movies in the cinema are probably even less.
Wow.
But in this new high dynamic range world that we are about to enter, the image is going to have more like 5 to 7 stops, I believe, of dynamic range, which is still plenty enough to not have your pupils move around a lot to accommodate, as it's called, for really dark and really bright. It's still not the same as looking out the window.
Right.
You look at the sun.
No, in fact, they estimate the human eye's got more like 10 to 14 f-stops.
14 altogether. Yeah. But you only have 5 or 6 stops
at any one time.
At any one time. Right. And so what we really want is a video system that can encompass 5 or 6 stops all at the same time. It really does make a tremendous difference in the image. You can have bright parts in the image. I've seen images inside of, say, a bar or something like restaurant or something where the interior is dim, and yet there's a window in the scene, and you can see outside, to the parking lot or something like that. Now, in a normal standard dynamic range image, you would the cameraman would either expose for the interior, in which case the window would be completely blown out and just be this white mass. Or you could expose for the outdoors, the window, and then the indoors would look very dim and you couldn't see anything. Right. It would all be obscured. With a high dynamic range image, you can see both at the same time. It's really remarkable. So we expect to see quite a few TVs at CES, which we're about ready to leave for here in a couple days.
What? Already? That's
I know.
It seemed like we just were there.
I know, I know.
Are you going to be going around to the, as you usually do, to all the television booths and looking at what they've got? And
Yep.
When is that? It starts like the 5th?
It starts on the 5th is press day, and then I believe the 6th is the day that the show actually opens.
And
I'll be doing a bunch of interviews.
We should warn people because you're going to hear next week a lot of stuff that was at CES. Like last year, we heard new HDR high dynamic range 4K Blu-ray players will be out this year.
Yeah,
and they're still not. So
but what we're going to see this year is we're going to see at many booths, Panasonic, Samsung, Sony, I'm sure, many others, that will actually have them on hand and say, look, here we're playing it. You can see the disc right here being played on this TV.
It's interesting though, because I just want people to take what they see with a grain of salt. Just because you see it announced at CES doesn't mean you're ever going to see it in the real world.
Well, that's true. There are certainly cases where they announce something and it's total vaporware and it never happens. But Ultra HD Blu-ray is a real thing. It's a thing, and it's going to happen. And I'm looking forward to it tremendously. You know me, I like discs a lot because they are the ultimate in quality. I mean, from an Ultra HD Blu-ray disc, you're going to get something like 100 megabits per second, which you're never going to get from streaming.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a higher quality. And for me, that's very important. Now, for a lot of people, convenience is more important, and they get streaming. And there is already high dynamic range streaming going on from MGO and Netflix, I believe. Ultraflix will have it soon. Vudu. The only problem with high dynamic range is that there's more than one type. Oh, no.
What?
Yeah, afraid so.
God.
There's an open standard, which is the most common one, and I think probably the one that will survive. But then there's also Dolby Vision, which is by Dolby, and it's proprietary.
Haven't these guys learned? Remember the VHS versus Betamax? Remember
and
HD
Blu-ray
DVD versus Blu-ray? And now we're doing it again with competing HDR standards?
I'm afraid so.
So
this is really bad.
My advice then is to wait until somebody wins, because I bought an HD DVD player. And while I have a few movies.
I did too.
Yeah.
This is a problem. I agree. And the real problem is that TVs that do one type won't do the other type.
Whoa. Now, they will be compatible, though, in some way, right?
Well, not in HDR, they won't. No.
So you won't get any HDR, but you'll be able to watch the disc, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Absolutely.
So it'll be like Dolby Surround versus THX. You'll still get some sound.
Yes.
You just won't get...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And in terms of Ultra HD Blu-ray, there's a mandate. It's mandatory for them to have the open standard HDR if they're going to have any HDR at all. And then if they want, they can also have as an option Dolby Vision or something like that.
So get the open standard
TV at this point. That's what I'm saying.
That'll be compatible. Scott Wilkinson, thank God we have you. AVSforum.com and HomeTheaterGeeks at twit.tv/HTG. He just explains this all and helps us make the right choices. Thank you, Scott. We'll see you next week.
You bet.
I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You are, well, you know who you are. In this case, you're David in Orange County. Our next call. Hi, David. Thanks for calling.
Hi there. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you, David. What can I do for you today?
Yeah, quick question here. I have a Seagate external hard drive Barracuda model. I'm reading here, 2 terabyte in capacity.
Nice.
Thank you. I was told I took it to a guy I had taken previous issues with before. Anyway, he said it had been dropped. I don't know how or when, but anyway, it was damaged. So it was beyond his capability to repair it there and transfer the data out of it onto some DVDs. So I took it to a place he recommended. Anyway, my question here is levels 1, 2, and 3 data recovery at different costs. What are the basic differences between them? And is this something that I can do? I was told by a small office where I work at, our IT guy, he came in, I kind of explained it like I'm explaining new. He said, well, you just go to Fry's and pick up this cord, and it's something I might be able to attempt myself. So that's my question.
So that's a great question. And levels 1, 2, and 3 are not, hard defined terms, but I can give you the basic kind of levels of this. A level 1 is a soft error. So hard drives, as you know, are platters of magnetic material. Sometimes they're made of glass, sometimes metal. They have ferrite or some other magnetic receptive material on them. And the way you store data on them is by charging them with a head that's kind of like how you make a cassette, right? It's very similar.
I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, same idea. So there's a head moving around. There's platters, usually multiple platters. The bigger the drive, like a 2 terabyte drive, probably have quite a few platters in there, which means each level has its own head. The head moves around and writes to the material. Now, a level 1 error means something soft went bad, something that's repairable. Maybe the head. Maybe you unplugged the computer or unplugged the drive right when it was writing, and it went skittering across the drive, spraying 1s and 0s. That's not a physical error. That's not damage. That's just a data error. It could be, a virus could give you a level 1 error. Some bad blocks in a critical position could give you a level 1 error. So that's fairly fixable by just kind of refreshing the drive, and I'll tell you how you would do that. Level 2 error can be, there's a fuzzy line between 2 and 3. Basically, there are really only 2 levels. There's a soft error that can be fixed with software, and there's a hard error that requires a physical fix. Like I have to open up the drives. Maybe one of the heads got bent, or one of the drives got scratched, and I'd have to open it up and physically. Now, the minute you go from a soft error to physical error, you jump in price by a factor of 10. And you probably, if you've talked to people like Drive Savers, you've seen thousands of dollars to recover a hard drive. The only reason you would ever want to do that is if you have no backup, no other copy of this data, and it's absolutely vital you get it back. Like that's my PhD dissertation that I've been working on for 2 years, and I have no copies. Then you might want to pay $2,000. It might be worth it. For most people, that's it's fairly prohibitive to get hard data back, hard errors back. But here's the problem: you don't know exactly. Is the thing making noises?
Well, no, it wasn't.
So it sounds like it's spinning up normally? Is it spinning at all?
No, I haven't plugged in a long time, to tell you the truth. The reason being is that I used to interchange them between a Mac and then an older XP laptop, which I've since replaced. And when I would put it into my laptop, it wouldn't get recognized. Notice that. Yeah. And then I would it would ask.
Well, the simplest error on a USB drive like this is something, not even an error on the drive, an error on the enclosure. So what your geek at work was telling you is take the drive, the bare drive, out of the enclosure. Remove the screws on the Barracuda, pry it open, and you'll see inside of there's some circuitry, there's some connectors, and then there's just a regular laptop drive or a physical drive in there that you disconnect. If the USB circuitry is damaged, by the way, that's very easy to have happen with a short circuit. And the reason I'm thinking it is what happens is because you're having trouble reading it sometimes, but not always. It will work sometimes, but not always. That's usually just a physical connection error. Putting that in a new USB enclosure might fix the whole thing. So what your tech guy was telling you about is about a $30 or $40 part that's designed specifically for this. Newer Tech makes them, and there are a lot of companies, but Newer Tech sells them. NEWERTECH, and what it is it's designed to take a bare drive and give it a USB interface. You wouldn't want to do this permanently, but long enough to at least see if it works. So every tech guy, in fact, I bet this guy has one in his kit, because this is a common thing. So you take the drive out, connect it to that, and then you can connect it via USB to any computer and see if you can see it. If you can, you're golden. It's not the drive. It's just the enclosure. You're case over. Yeah. If you're still not able to... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you at that point I have a new HP here. If it was seen by the new HP, then I can theoretically.
Then you're golden. You could put it. Yeah.
Put it to a new. I have new hard drives empty.
Yeah, just copy it over, and you're done.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I learned my lesson now. Now I'm back.
And you better back up from now on. I'm going to do a carbonite ad here.
I went several months too long. So this is the whole point of my.
You better back it up. So there you go.
I can go find I can go find that cord then, and that's a cheap way to start.
Yeah, newertech.com, they sell them online. Now, if that doesn't work, then you do have a higher level error. It still could be level 1. You can go out and get software. It gets tricky now because any software you use to recover that drive could make it harder to recover, So if the drive's spinning up and it's booting up and you're just not recognizing it, you can run something called SpinRite. It's about $90. It's not cheap. But you buy it once and you can use it forever. From grc.com. This is my friend Steve Gibson. He makes this. And you run it against there. And if it's soft errors, it goes through the drive like a bad sector or two. And if a bad sector in the wrong place could make a drive unreadable, like in the master boot record or in the file allocation table, can make it unreadable. So that can fix it. If that doesn't fix it, generally at this point, by the way, you will have made a mirror image of this drive. You'll actually use ghosting software to copy the drive because you don't want to start messing up the drive. You want to keep that drive pristine and work on the ghost of it. Then you can do some other things, and it slowly escalates to more and more expensive. But SpinRite would be the next step after the enclosure. If SpinRite doesn't do anything now, you probably want to go to the pros, and it's going to start to cost you money. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we get Carbonite ads right now. Hey, thanks for the call, David. I appreciate it. Coming up, Melinda in Costa Mesa. She's got a laptop problem. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. On we go with Melinda in Costa Mesa. Hello, Melinda.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, except I'm having a Dell nightmare.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I bought a new laptop last April. It's an Inspiron laptop. It's 17 inches at the end of April. And I had started, the week I got it, I started having trouble with it. So I called Dell. Well, I bought it from QVC, first of all, and I called Dell, and their techs had me take it back to the factory specifications.
Yeah, they always do that just to make sure it's not something you installed.
Right. And fortunately, I have Carbonite. I've had it for years.
Yay!
But anyway, so I did that. I put it back to my specifications. I upgraded it to Windows 10 and all those things. But I still was having trouble with it. I've had it on and off, and I was just wondering if it was just me not being used to the computer. But anyway, or to that laptop. So anyway, on this, let's see, November 20th, I decided to...
Melinda, we have to take a break. Can you hold on for a little bit?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break. News at the top of the hour, and no time waits for no newsman.
Of course it
So we're going to take a little break, and I'll see if I can help you. But what I'm going to ask you about is what symptoms you have. So start thinking about the symptoms so we can see if we can figure out what's wrong. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More to come right after this. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, how are you today? Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. Coming up about half an hour from now, Johnny Jett, our travel guru. He's going to talk about travel, but how you can use technology to travel better, apps and websites, that kind of thing. I thought it'd be kind of fun. Here we are, brand new year, 2016, to talk about the products that I thought were memorable from 2015. The products maybe, very subjectively, I thought made a difference, changed things. A lot of them are going to have Apple in the name. Sorry about that. Not because I'm an Apple bigot, but because I think Apple really, it's pretty obvious, the most valuable company in the world, and they make a big difference. They make a big change. And I do believe the iPhone 6S was a big change, more than usual for the iPhone family. Usually the S is the talk of the tick-tock cycle, all new hardware with the tick, and then kind of updates, minor updates with the talk. But this year, the camera much improved. The 3D touch really significant. I feel like this is an iPhone, and much faster. Fingerprint reader is blazingly fast, so very significant product from Apple. So I think you're going to have to say the iPhone 6S. Certainly one of the top phones of the year. Now, let me pick an Android phone, though, to be perfectly fair. And that's a little bit harder. There have been a lot of great Android phones. Google's own Nexus 5X and the 6P, very impressive phones. But I have to say, for all that Samsung does wrong on its phones, including kind of glaze over Android with its own less than spectacular interface, the Galaxy Note 5 was a pretty amazing camera, a great phone. Notice I say camera because one of the best things about it was the camera. But the stylus, as long as you don't put it on wrong, that was a big story of the year. Don't put it in backwards, but if you don't put it in backwards, it really is a fantastic stylus. I really liked the Galaxy Note 5, and I think probably the Android phone of the year, although close runner-up than Google Nexus 6P. Now, let's see. How about laptop computers? I'm going to give it to this one, to the Microsoft Surface Book. Overpriced, yes. but very interesting styling. It's a convertible. That means you could pop the screen off and use it as a tablet, and yet it's extremely robust, fast, easy to use, nice laptop computer. Runner-up, though, to that new Dell XPS 13, also very good. I love touch and Windows 10. I think that's a great combination. So I think those two are my laptop choices of the year. And I have to admit, I've been won over by Apple's MacBook, announced in 2014 but released in 2015. This is the 12-inch that only has one connector, a power supply, and yet it just won my heart over. It was so thin and light, so easy to use, such a beautiful screen. The keyboard, not as easy to use as a normal full-size laptop, but for its size, pretty darn usable. So on the Mac side, I think the MacBook, it's the one I use the most. That and the Surface Book are my kind of two favorite laptops. Desktop computer is easy. A lot of uninspired designs on the Windows side, but you got to love Apple's 5K iMac. Wow, is that a great computer. Now, that is in light of the fact that I spent a lot of money on a Mac Pro, that you know, black cylinder. That thing, very disappointing, very overpriced, very disappointing. I actually replaced it with the 5K iMac, the new 5K iMac this year, 27-inch display. It's a gorgeous 5K display, lots of power under the hood, and it looks great. The styling is fantastic. So tip of the hat, I think, for a desktop computer of the year, that goes to the 5K iMac from Apple. Software is another story entirely. Some interesting new releases, big release for Microsoft Office. And yet, I don't feel like Office 2016 is so significant from previous versions that, I mean, it's a landmark in the sense they don't release very many versions of this. I'm more excited by, and a subscriber to, the online versions of Office, which automatically update you. So I had the previous version of Office upgraded to 2016 automatically, because I have, for $8 a month, the online version of Office 365, or the subscription version is really a better way to describe it. It has an online component, but it is also desktop software. And it's Mac and PC, and with a home version for $8 a month, I also get 5 copies. So I can install it on my laptop, my desktop, on my Surface Book, and my MacBook. I like that. I really have to give a thumbs up to that. As a photographer, I also really like Adobe's new Creative Cloud. It was very controversial when Adobe announced that they were going to go subscription only. And who wants yet another bill? And yet, the photographer's bundle for a photographer is a great deal. For $10 a month, you get both Photoshop and Adobe's Lightroom. These are really the power tools for photographers, illustrators, and other people too, but for photographers especially. And, you know, the two products together cost over $1,000 just bought standalone. So I think that's a very good price, $10 a month. I'm happy to have that subscription and the automatic updates. You get a lot of additional features, Adobe's, you know, photo storage and so forth. I think that's a great deal. So a big tip of the hat to, and in the face of a lot of criticism to Adobe's Creative Cloud, in particular the photography bundle, which includes Photoshop and Lightroom for just $10 a month. How about online? You know, I've got to give big props to Google for Google Photos. That is an amazing, I want to say program, but it is online. You can put it on your iPhone or your Android phone, your tablets. There isn't a desktop version, but there's a web version. And it's amazing. I have, first of all, unlimited free storage. Now, admittedly, they shrink down the photos a little bit, but I've not noticed any degradation in quality. And because I have unlimited storage, I've put every photo, every digital photo I've ever taken, well over 40,000 photos. Yes, it took me a while to upload, but it was free. And now, with Google's really amazing categorization, I can find a photo going back 15 years easily. Type in Paris in the snow, and I get pictures I took in Paris when it was snowing, and somehow Photos knows. It finds faces. Face recognition is excellent. It'll even find faces of a child that is now grown into an adult. My kids are in their 20s, and yet I can find their childhood pictures. That's pretty great. And it's free. Photos.google.com. That has to be the internet product of the year. And you know, this is a crowded field because there are always new products coming along all the time. That's one reason I like producthunt.com. That is an internet website that every day is updated with the latest new products. And because you can vote on these products, the best, the cream rises to the top. I use it every day to find new products, and it is an absolute must. producthunt.com. One of the things I have to do for this show and all the other podcasts that I do is keep up on tech news, and I do that with what was originally a website created by the guy who invented Friendster, Jonathan Abrams. It's called Nuzzle, N-U-Z-Z-E-L, at nuzzle.com. Now they have an iOS and Android app as well. And what it does is you connect your Nuzzle account to your Twitter account, your Facebook account. It automatically pulls up news stories that are most linked to by the people you follow. It actually has 3 categories. Stories linked to by the people you follow. Stories linked to by friends of friends, so 1 degree of separation, and then stories you may have missed. In other words, big stories that none of your friends or their friends were talking about. Between those 3 categories, I feel like I'm really kept up to date on everything that's going on in the tech world. It's a free service I adore. They're using the new Google AMP technology, so when pages are AMP-enabled, they load super fast on the mobile side, and that's great, too. N-U-Z-Z-E-L, nuzzle.com. A real winner in the category of, I guess they call it social news from Jonathan Abrams. Just a few of the programs and products that I used a lot this year. I've left a lot out. I only had a few minutes, but I think all of them deserve particular attention, and more importantly, will continue to grow and succeed into 2016. I guess later we should do a look at what to look for in 2016, because there's a lot of great stuff coming along. This is a great category, isn't it? It's always fun. There's always something new. I love technology. All right, but that's my best of the year. Now it's time for your calls next. I'm Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, and oh, I feel terrible. Poor Melinda's been waiting and waiting. I've been gassing on in Costa Mesa. Hi, Melinda. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, I'm back
So
again.
let me recap. You have a Dell computer you bought. It was a laptop. You bought it just not in the spring, not so long ago.
Right, last spring.
And it's been flaky.
Yes.
Now, what is and I said I would ask you this, and so I hope you've been thinking about it. What symptoms are you having? What's it doing?
Well, I had things like it highlighting itself and all, but as I said...
Wait a minute, highlighting the text, you mean, randomly?
Highlighting the text randomly, changing pages randomly.
Okay.
If I look at points to something, it changes it.
Is everything that it's doing kind of like you would do if you were a ghost with the mouse?
That could work.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, on November 20th, I called Dell. They wanted to set it back to factory specifications again, and I didn't. So I asked them if there was something else I could do. Well, he said, well, would you run these tests for me? So I ran the tests. I had a doctor's appointment. And when I came back, I called Dell back, and the text back, and I gave her the service tag. And with the service tag, she wasn't able to find out who I was. Anyway, the hard drive is bad. They offered to replace the hard drive. However, she needed the Service Express code, so I picked up the computer and dropped it. I'm disabled. I don't usually lift it up. I leave it on a table. So now it has a big dent. Yeah, so now it has a big dent in it. I know, and nobody at Dell can help me.
Did you yell at them and say, it's your fault? I wouldn't have picked it up if you hadn't asked me what to do.
I did all of that. In fact, I didn't yell. I said it, but nice and calmly.
Yeah, but it isn't really their fault if it falls. I mean,
yeah, technically they were like, it's not our fault. You know that.
Oh man.
So then I can't get anyone.
So
in
they're saying now because there's a dent in it, they won't help you.
Oh, they'll do it, but they still do it. But I'm not even sure I trust the computer.
No. Truth is, what I think this is not the hard drive, although it could be. What you're describing is kind of like ghostly mouse movements, could easily be caused by a faulty trackpad.
Oh.
Or schmutz on the trackpad. In other words,
the test said it was the hard drive.
Yeah, well,
because it failed to do the full test.
Okay, so maybe there's a hard drive problem too. But the ghostly mouse movements like that usually mean there's a hardware issue with either stuck keys, like the keyboard stuck or the trackpad stuck or both. It could be software, it could be drivers, it could be physical hardware. Almost in no cases does this have anything to do with a hard drive. But here's the good news. You ran the diagnostic, it found an error. It is under warranty, right?
Yes.
They're not going to fix the dent. But it still works with the dent, right? It's just a dent. It's cosmetic.
Yes. Okay.
It's just a corner, right? Got dinged.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not a perfectionist, but anyway.
I am too, but there are very few laptops in the long run. There are very few laptops that don't have a ding or two, a crumpled horn around the corners. That's pretty common.
Okay.
So that's not, you didn't do anything unusual. Most of my laptops, right in the corner, that's where they get dinged.
Yes.
There's a little bent there, but if it's not affecting functionality, that shouldn't make any difference.
Okay.
In fact, Dell, if you don't ask them to fix that, Dell should repair the hard drive. I sense what you want me to tell you is get a new computer.
I'm not. I don't want you to tell me that. I can't afford to buy two computers.
Well, yeah, that's silly, right? And the truth is, this is repairable. I think they're asking you to send it to them, probably. Yeah.
No, they said they'd send a technician here.
Oh, great.
Because I'm disabled. I told them I'm disabled.
Perfect. When the technician gets there, he's expecting to replace the hard drive. Have him look at this trackpad and keyboard. Show him what's happening.
Okay.
And a good technician's going to go, oh, yeah, lady, I could see what the problem is. You got some schmutz under this G key there.
Okay.
He'll fix that for you.
Okay, so the trackpad and keyboard.
Yeah, I would have him say, look, it looks like, see, it's randomly selecting text. It's turning pages. It's like there's a stray mouse signal in there, isn't it?
Okay.
Right? Like
Right.
if there was somebody next door with a mouse moving it around to drive you crazy, that's what it would look like.
That's what it would look like.
Yeah. So what that is the trackpad, you know, it could be bad, in which case you'd have to replace it, but it's all under warranty, and that's not normal behavior. What's nice is when you get a human there, you can show him.
Okay.
And he can't deny it. He can't say, oh, yeah, well, that's not our fault. Of course it's your fault. He'll fix it.
Okay.
He may, I don't know what their policies are. He may say, well, you're going to have to get another technician out here, and it's going to be 3 weeks. I don't know. But
okay.
It isn't the
And they have Dell has no people that you can talk to in the United States?
No, well,
because that's what they also said.
So here's what happens. You can, but here's what happens. Computers are cheap. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Really cheap.
Well, I know. They used to be so good.
Yeah. So
years and years
used to be, we always said, I was even doing this show when we said it, the computer you want, the laptop you want is $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, the laptop, you'd be hard-pressed to spend that much money. It's more like $500, sometimes less. But what did they cut out?
More.
Or maybe a little more. But what did they cut out to get the price, down by more than half?
Right.
Well, one of the things they cut out was support. That's very expensive. Every time you call them, it's $35 out the door for them.
Oh.
Right? So the profit margin's so slim now that they outsource support to India or China or somewhere where the labor's less expensive.
Right.
And they're not super talented. They've got notebooks. They're going through the notebooks. Sometimes you might be lucky and get somebody who cares and who's really good, but a lot of times you're just getting somebody who's reading a notebook. That's why they walk through all these nonsensical things.
Right.
They don't make any sense given the symptoms you've told me. But this is what it says on their checklist. Okay, first have her redo the computer and do this and do that. So they went through all of that, and they still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. I'm surprised they found a bad hard drive because it's not related. They're actually costing the company money, but they don't care. That's not the point.
Right, okay.
The point is that Dell has saved money on support. Now, there is Dell Gold support, and it's expensive because you pay them, and you will talk to a senior tech who really knows what they're doing. Companies buy this. Some individuals buy it. I don't usually recommend it. You're in good shape because you're getting on-site service. That's really good. Normally, you have to bring it to a depot or mail it back, and
well, I'm disabled and I don't have that.
That's good on Dell for doing that. They said to you, "Good, we're going to give you on-site service." I don't know. Did you buy that when you bought the computer?
No, I didn't. In fact, QVC didn't say you needed to buy anything.
No,
I had to buy Premier or anything. I would have probably not.
QVC is not going to, because then they have to give you a bigger price.
Right.
They want to give you the lowest possible price.
Right.
So Dell's being actually generous. They're probably giving you a on-site service, which normally costs money, for free.
Okay.
So that's good. That means Dell really is trying to help you, which I like.
Okay.
And so but when you get a guy out there, now you're going to get better support. And I think he's going to see what's wrong. And if he's a decent tech, which he is, because he's the guy who's coming out, right?
Right.
He's going to tell you what to do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Sometimes it's hard for me because at a distance, at a remove, I'm no better really than the guy you're talking to in India. I have to, imagine. But given what you've told me, I think that's probably what's going on. And certainly a tech who's there can see it. We'll have a much better idea. And one hopes we'll be able to fix it right there and charge it back to Dell. It is under warranty, but you're getting, I think Dell's giving you their gold service without actually charging you, which is nice. Good on them. All right, going to take a break. Come back with more of your calls. Leo Laporte, the tech guy for 2016. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy, and I hear him a clip-a-clopping on the roof. It's Johnny Jet. Get down off the roof. Johnny Jet, our travel guru who does not fly by sleigh. Hey, Johnny, Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.
Johnny joins us every week to talk about travel, using technology to travel better. He has a great website, johnnyjet.com, and a really good travel deals, several travel deals newsletters you can subscribe to for free at johnnyjet.com. First of all, New Year's Eve. I figure a guy like Johnny Jet, you got to have something pretty special planned.
I sure do. Sure did.
What did you do?
I was hanging out watching the fireworks. What do you think?
Now, there's fireworks all over. Sydney Harbor, Australia. Did you go to Newfoundland? No. New York City?
No. No.
Where? Hong Kong. Hong Kong's fireworks are legendary.
No, I was in Waikiki.
Oh, who cares about the fireworks? I'm going to Waikiki. That's a good place to go for New Year's Eve, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite place to go.
Do you go to which hotel? You probably go to a nice hotel.
I go to a nice hotel.
Yeah, like the hotel. Isn't Waikiki the original? What is the
original? The original what?
Like Hawaiian destination was Waikiki.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe it was a Moana surf rider.
Ah, not the Royal Hawaiian.
No, that's next door, but I believe it was Moana Surfrider was first.
Nice.
And Surfrider was second. I mean, not the Surfrider, the
Royal Hawaiian. Yeah. Oh, man. I like, it's funny. You don't think of, if you've not been to Hawaii, you probably just think, well, it's a state. It's like America, but with good weather. But no, the culture there is really fantastic. The Polynesian culture, the history, and you really feel it when you get there. It really is a place apart. It's wonderful.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, good on you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. So I have an app, a website, and a tip.
Okay.
So my app is called Great Little Place, otherwise known as GLP. Have you heard of this one?
No.
So it's a fairly new app, and so everyone talks about to their friends that they have this great little place, and that when they're traveling, and so this guy's came up with an app which has now 15,000 places listed in 6 different countries and 100 cities, where you can put your great little place recommendations for food, drinks, coffee, entertainment, culture and activities. So I looked up my hometown of Manhattan Beach just to verify it, because I know that town very well.
Yeah.
And they had great restaurants listed. So I was like, wow.
And they really were great little places. They were legitimately great. Wow.
They were some of them on there were the ones I would list myself. So
this was a website, right? I mean, this site's been around for a while, I think. And then they've decided to make an app out of it. So they have a lot of data. They're not Johnny come lately to this.
No.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, man.
So it's interesting. I mean, it's just another thing for travelers to check out. Everyone's always doing research when they're traveling. I think it's 21 websites. I think they search when they're planning a trip, so that you can add 22 to it.
Oh, the 8 greatest little pizza parlors. Oh. Ooh, Pizza Pilgrims. Ooh, that's in London. This must be an English site. Oregano, that's also in London. These must all be, they're all Pizza Papagone. You wouldn't think you go to London for pizza, but apparently they've got some good places.
Although I've had pizza once in London. It was not bad, but no.
Yeah.
I like Indian food for London. I love getting it.
And the app is free?
It is free.
Nice deal. Great little place. Uncover the greatest little places wherever you are. I like it.
So speaking of London, the UK, my next website is gov.uk/foreign-travel-advice.
Okay.
So, these days, you can never be too safe about, doing research on different countries and And a lot of times the U.S. State Department could be skewed. So I always recommend checking out other ones like, the UK, Canadian, and the Australian. But what's really cool about this site is that you can subscribe to their email alerts. And actually, one of my readers turned me on to it. They subscribed to my newsletter. And they said that while they're in Paris, they got an immediate email from these guys to watch out during the terrorist attacks.
Wow.
And they were subscribed to the U.S. State Department as well. And these guys were American, but the U.S. State Department didn't send anything out. But the U.K. was right on top of it, so they knew to stay away from this area. But they also said that they love to use it because whenever they're traveling to around Europe, they subscribe to that country, and it will tell you where the traffic is if there's going to be a big sporting event. And they're like, I don't even follow sports, but it's great because it tells you where to stay away from if you're not into that.
So you can get an email alert from them. I'm going to give them my address.
Yep. So you put your email in, and then you can choose if you want all countries or whatever countries you're traveling to. You can just tick them off, and then you're subscribed. And actually, after you do that, then you can even set up to other alerts like food allergies or food warnings and things like that.
Will they tell us when the Queen is in the palace for the changing of the guard? That's what I want to know.
You just got to look at the flag. On top.
The flag will tell you. Okay. This is good. This is good. Now, it's a long address, so you know what you could do is you can Google Foreign Travel Advice UK, each separate word, and that took me right to it.
And I just put it in the chat room as well.
All right. So that means we'll put it in the show notes. That's good.
And I'll tweet it too.
There you go. You should be following @JohnnyJet on the Twitter. That's
and Instagram.
Yeah, and the Instagram. Well, they have a lot of newsletters. Look at this.
They sure do.
All countries. Yeah, I'm going to do all countries. And it's very helpful if you really want to drill down in the countries you're going to.
Right.
All right. Good stuff.
And then my tip, I guess going along with the terrorism, this is, it's very basic, but it's very important. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
A lot of these days, it's tough for the police to, keep up with these guys. And I remember I was in a Doha airport not long ago, and, my wife and I were walking, and she's like, "Did you see that bag right there by the garbage can?" There was no one around except the backpack, and I was like,
Oy.
"Well, we were on the right side of security, so I wasn't too worried, but I still ran over, found somebody, pointed it out, and I hightailed it out of there." But the point is that no matter what, you'll never look silly, and it's always better to be safe.
They were grateful, I'm sure. They said thank you.
For sure.
Yeah.
So always. Don't ever think, be embarrassed or whatever. If you see something, you say something.
And this from a seasoned traveler, Johnny Jet. How many countries did you get to last year?
20.
That seems low for you.
No, I try to do 20 a year. That's what I try and do.
That's your goal? I guess there's only 52 weeks. Going to 20 different countries is somewhat of an accomplishment, especially, you probably duplicate a little bit. Like, how many times were you in Paris last year? Probably more than once.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
At least 4 times.
Oh,
but
there you go.
I try and go to at least, 5 new countries a year.
You know what? I want to have that goal in my life. And then, you've not been to every country, though?
No, I haven't, but I have 3 friends who have.
Wow.
And there's only 98 people have been to every single country in the world.
Oh. That's a small...
and I would eventually like to, but there's a lot of countries right now that I have no desire to go to.
Yeah, I saw an article by a guy who's done that, and it was very serendipitous that some of these countries he was able to get into at all. Like, you can't just go to Saudi Arabia. You can't just walk in and say, here I am.
You have to get these visas.
Yeah. It's
Saudi's not actually as tough as some of the African countries to get these visas.
What did you count air miles? Do you count those?
I do. Because I used to be afraid to fly and afraid to leave the home at one point, so I keep track of everything now.
He's the quantified traveler. Well, how many air miles in 2015?
Actually, I didn't do that many. I did just under 150.
Oh, that's all. 150,000.
I have friends who do 450. Yeah. I have no desire. I just, I travel.
In fact, that would be, to me, the downside of your job is a lot of time in the air. I don't like airports. I don't want to be in the air. I want to be in country. But you do it. He's the king. Go to johnnyjet.com. You can sign up for his newsletters. You can read his articles. Follow him on Twitter @JohnnyJet. Instagram, too. Great pictures @JohnnyJet. And his wife, Natalie DeScala, great pictures on Instagram, too. She's a talent. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Leo
Happy
Laporte,
to you.
the tech guy. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Larry in Petaluma. Hey, it's my buddy Larry from Petaluma. You were just in studio a few weeks back.
I was. I didn't expect to talk to you so soon, but I decided to celebrate the new year by finally upgrading my Windows 7 on my Dell desktop to Windows 10.
You were smart. You waited. I think that was very smart.
Well, I waited, but it's now been frozen for the past hour.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it says upgrading Windows. It's got 18%. It's been there for over an hour, and it's down on the lower left. It says copying files 61%. So I don't know if I should just try to turn it off and back on, which they warn you not to do. I don't know what else to do.
Oh, it's the worst possible situation. So it's been at 61% for more than an hour.
Yeah, it's definitely frozen.
Well, I'm going to give you the standard boilerplate here, which is an operating system upgrade, especially one in place, as we're doing here. We're taking an existing operating system and upgrading it, is fraught with peril. It works most of the time, but even if it fails 1% of the time, last I heard, Microsoft said 111 million people had installed this Windows 10 upgrade. So that means that there's at least 1 million people who are having some problem. And in fact, lots of people are saying, oh, Windows 10, I wish I hadn't done it. But think about it. If 1%, 1 million people have problems, that's going to be all over the place. I think it's probably less than 1 million, frankly. But unfortunately, one of them is Larry.
One of them is me, unfortunately.
So at this point, the advice is correct. When something's right into the hard drive, especially something like an operating system upgrade, you don't want to start over. Because it's in an unknown state. But what's happened is it's already, in effect, started over because whatever was going on is done. If you see no disk activity, you haven't heard anything in a while, the numbers haven't changed, you're really sure that computer is just sitting there frozen, then it doesn't matter what you do. The damage is already, in effect, done.
The hard drive light is on, but it's just solid. It's not flickering like Now, I wonder, I didn't turn off the sleep mode on this, and I do have Carbonite on this machine. Could that have affected?
Could have. It's certainly a good idea to turn off any background processing I mean, you shouldn't have to, but maybe that's what's happening. I just don't know. At this point, you're no worse off than if you didn't do this. You might as well shut her down and cross your fingers and restart. You just press and hold the on-off switch till it goes off.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I do have, and I did back up this morning before I did this. I do have a true image image of my
Then don't worry about it. Larry, you're so smart. Yeah, that's the number one advice. And the first thing that people don't do, I didn't do, it says, before you upgrade, back up everything. And, of course...
Leo, I've been smart enough to listen to you for a number of years.
Well, we're all in too much of a hurry. I don't do it. I go, yeah, what could possibly go wrong? And, of course, the minute something goes wrong, you go, no! I think you're probably all right. It was in the process of copying files. So it was at that point in the install. If it had already started the install, I'd be more worried. It was the point in the install where it's getting files onto the hard drive, then it would reboot and start the install. You haven't had that reboot yet. So I think you're probably okay, frankly.
Great. Okay, good.
Sorry, Larry.
Well, I will let you know.
If you have problems, come on over, and we'll sit down and see if we can fix it.
No, I hate to burn you. But anyway, thank you for your help again. I'll see you around town.
All right, Larry. Take care. Yeah, I think, where was it? Was it a grocery store? I can't remember. Larry came up and said, hey, Leo. Hi, Larry. This is a nice thing about small-town life, right? Everybody knows you, and you know everybody. We're going to take a little break, come back with more of your calls right around the corner. Paul in Tarzana. He's worried about Service Pack 1 for Windows 10. You know what? I love Windows 10. I'm running a Surface Book that came with Windows 10. I'm also using a Dell that I got earlier this year that I upgraded from Windows 8.1 to 10. I've had a few little minor, problems, but essentially it's been very good. But anytime there's a big operating system upgrade, there's going to be, as I said, problems. And let's just, you hope it doesn't happen to you. Paul in Tarzana, welcome.
Hello, Leo. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Paul. Happy New Year to you, too.
I was just wondering, I've got an older Toshiba computer, and it had XP, and I upgraded it to Windows 7. And I listened to your show, and I'm very cautious about upgrading it to Windows 10. And I think there was supposed to be a Service Pack 1 for Windows 10 in November. I was wondering if that ever happened.
It did. They call it the The technical term is the November update. The code name was Threshold 2. The Windows 10, when it came out in July, was Threshold 1. So it is out. And if you were to upgrade at this point, you would be getting the November update. So yes, Service Pack 1 came out. Now, how did you upgrade to Windows 7? Did you buy a copy of Windows 7?
I did buy a copy of Windows 7, and I put it on fresh and clean.
Good. So if it's an activated Windows 7, which it is, then you have a free upgrade, and it shouldn't be a problem. And did you get the little pop-up? It says it's time to upgrade?
Back in August, I believe it was.
Good.
But listening to your show, I was very cautious about, all the things that were happening in August, September, October.
Smart. So it's kind of... It's the Service Pack 1, which Microsoft says it's not a Service Pack, but it is. The Service Pack 1 wasn't as big a change as I expected. It fixed a few things, but for instance, Edge didn't get plugins. There's still stuff missing. I don't know about Windows 10. I think it's great, but I do also think that it wasn't completely done. I think that's what you heard me say when they shipped it at the end of July. It's more done than it was. But the other thing Microsoft says again and again is Windows is never done now. From now on, we're going to be continually improving it. I think by now you can try it. You should try it. What you should do is what our last caller did, which is have a backup that you can go back to. An image copy would be the best. There are programs like DriveSnapshot.de that you can download and do an image even within Windows of if you have an external drive, just kind of image Windows. That way, if you decide I don't like Windows 10, you're guaranteed the ability to go back. Microsoft, when they upgrade you to Windows 10, theoretically gives you a 30-day window to roll it back. There's a roll back button. But I've heard also people saying, well, that didn't work, and it's worked for me, but it's nice to have your own rollback, kind of plan B. Having said that, I would do it. I think you'll like it. And even though it's an old machine, Microsoft's already given you this the certification that it's compatible. That's what that pop-up meant. We have all the drivers. We have everything we need to make your machine work. So I would trust that and go ahead and do it. And then call me and complain when you don't, when it fails. Good luck.
Great. Thank you, Leo.
I'm knocking on wood for you, Paul. You can see which version of Windows you have very easily if you just hit the Windows key on your keyboard and type WINVER, WinVer, and the Windows version screen will pop up. And if you want to know if you got the November update, your version, I should look, I think it's 1511 is the version number you should see. I'm going to pull out the old Dell. There'll be updates, after that, so you may even have a number greater than that. But if it's at least 1511, then you got the November Service Pack. I'm not sure why Microsoft doesn't want to call it a Service Pack. As far as I'm concerned, it is. So Windows key, WINVER, and let's see, that did not work. I have too many windows open. Windows key, WINVER. 1511 is anything after 1511 you have threshold to the November update. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with more of your calls. Don't go away. The first show of 2016. Wow. It feels like the future. More to come right after this. Hey, how are you today? Hour 3 of the Tech Guy Show is on the air. We'll talk about computers and the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all of that jazz. And, of course, take your calls, help you answer your tech conundrums at the Tech Guy Show. First show of 2016. Happy New Year to you. Earlier on in the show, I was talking a little bit about the year past. And one thing that was an interesting phenomenon, it didn't start in 2015, but it's grown considerably in 2015, is crowdfunding. And worth paying a little bit of attention to, because I think crowdfunding is a mixed bag, isn't it? It first came to my attention with Kickstarter a few years ago. Kickstarter.com is a site where you can go. And let's be very clear, I think people look at it sometimes as a store for something that's that's about to come out or is exciting and new and innovative. It's not that. It looks like it might be that, but it's not. What it really is a place for you to give money to creators to help them move forward in their creation with no guarantee, no promises. You don't own a piece of the company. You're not even guaranteed to get the product they're making. And I can think of several Kickstarter projects I've invested in that I never got anything out of. You know, they eventually threw up their hands and said, yeah, it's not going to work. Thanks for the money. See you later. I think that's one thing that people have to remember in this new world of crowdfunding is there are no promises. There's no guarantee you get anything for your investment. And that's one thing that worries me a little bit. I think it looks like you can go and buy something. I have a lot of Kickstarter products that I'm waiting for. Not just on Kickstarter. There are other services like Indiegogo. And sometimes even companies do this kind of on their own. They create a website. I bought some years ago now something called Jibo that supposedly eventually is going to come out. It's kind of a robot kitchen companion, JIBO.com. I put hundreds of dollars into that. But they were very clear that they weren't promising a product right away. I don't know what the current state of Jibo is, but let's see. They raised $3.7 million on Indiegogo, and supposedly sometime in 2016 I'll get one. Of course, the funny thing is, and this often happens, by the time you get your Jibo, it's out of date. In the case of Jibo, Amazon's kind of scooped them with the Amazon Echo. The Jibo's it looks at you, follows you around the room, it winks at you. It's got a screen on it, which the Echo doesn't. But I have to say, the Amazon Echo does about 99% of what I hoped the Jibo would do. It's out. It was a lot cheaper. It was only less than $200. By the way, what a great product that is. If you're going to mention great products of the year, the Amazon. Was this the year? Was 2015 the year? Or I think it was that Amazon Echo came out. I forgot that one last hour. I think crowdsourcing is a great idea. Crowdfunding is a great idea. There's a site called Patreon that is specifically aimed at new media, podcasts, YouTubers, Twitch folks. And that, you know, you kind of get what you're paying for. You support a show. You help the podcaster make a living while doing a show. I like that, patreon.com. I think that's a great idea. It's kind of, the name is perfect because it is a form of patronage in the sense of the, you know, the classical patronage. Where somebody like the Medicis would support an artist like Michelangelo. Well, maybe not that fancy. It's just podcasts after all. But I think it's a great idea. So some crowdsourcing, I like that. But I think there's also risks involved. And I think this year especially, we started to see more and more Kickstarter projects go south, promise more than they could deliver. In some cases, promise more than science could deliver. We're still waiting. There's a product designed to charge your phone wirelessly by making ultrasonic sounds through the air. There are those who say it could work. There are those who say there's no way it could work. I'd be careful about putting money into something that may be even physically impossible. Which reminds me also of a very interesting story of Theranos. Theranos has been around for many years, actually. It was created by a Stanford University dropout who said there's got to be a better way to do blood tests. And as an undergraduate, she theorized, she didn't know, but she theorized that instead of, you know how when you get a blood test, you go to the doctor, they draw a vial, a fairly large amount of blood using a needle. It's painful and a pain. She theorized that they could do many of these same tests with a finger prick, the same kind of thing diabetics do to just take a drop of blood and test their blood sugar. When we know blood sugar can be done that way, what about other diagnostic tests? Unfortunately, and now they're under investigation. There was a Wall Street Journal article that said the whole thing is somewhat of a scam, and two of its former employees now have brought a complaint against them. I don't know one way or the other, but this is another example of how it's very easy in this very go-go world where, you know, people are excited about the future and almost the science fiction future of driverless cars and things, that people got really excited about Theranos. I believe that its founder and CEO, Elizabeth Holmes, she founded it in 2003, really thought it was possible. But I also believe she got caught up kind of in a web of expectations. And when they couldn't live up to those expectations, they just kind of continued to ask for money, raise money, and go full speed ahead while kind of hiding their real capabilities. It's unknown. I think we're going to learn. The Wall Street Journal article started to really the investigation. I'd love to have Theranos be a reality, but I think this was the 2015 was the year where the reality started to look like it might be more difficult to achieve. And what's very interesting is, well, the old question, what do they know and when did they know it? Whether the founders and scientists behind Theranos knew this and misrepresented it, or whether they still believe that it's possible. An interesting year and a great year to come. I think 2016 is going to bring us, of course, more shiny gadgets that are only a little bit better. This is kind of the way of the world in technology. But there will always be breakthroughs in interesting and often unpredictable areas. I'm very interested to see what self-driving cars bring. I think we're only a few years away from that. And as the death toll continues to rise from distracted drivers and drunk drivers, this may be something that we start to demand and insurance companies start to demand. Right now, state legislatures, like here in California, are very much struggling with it. California decided to ban driverless vehicles unless there was a licensed, especially licensed autonomous vehicle driver in the driver's seat, and they required a steering wheel and pedals in the cars. This is something Google actually and others wanted to do away with. They said in every case when we've had an accident in our driverless vehicles, it's been caused by human error, either the error of our driver or more likely the error of another car. And the autonomous vehicles, they say, are perfect. So putting in pedals and a steering wheel encourages a lack of faith that actually can be dangerous. I don't know. I kind of like the idea. I know the first time I let a car drive itself, I'm going to have my hands hovering over the steering wheel and my foot right next to the brake pedal. Of course, I did that when I was teaching my daughter to drive too, right? But I do think this is going to be an interesting year for autonomous vehicles for sure. Computing's not going to change much. That's the interesting thing. We're really at peak computing. We've gotten as good as we need to get, and in many ways as good as we ever will get, unless major breakthroughs like quantum computing happen, and those may be very far off. I don't think we're going to get the age of intelligent machines this year. Machines that talk to you and are indistinguishable from humans. No, that's still a long way off. But I promise you, whatever happens this year and in the years to come, I will be here, we will be here to talk about it on the Tech Guy program. In fact, that's what I want to continue to do this hour. Coming up in just a little bit, Dick DeBartolo. He's Mad Magazine's maddest writer, but we call him our Gizwiz because he shows up with crazy gizmos and gadgets every week. He's just around the corner. And, of course, many more of your calls. Don't forget the website, techguylabs.com. All the information you need about the show is there, including where we are heard and audio and video of the shows after the fact. And, of course, written transcripts, or not exactly transcripts, but synopses of the things we talk about. So you don't have to remember any links, for instance. All the links will be there. techguylabs.com. No sign-up necessary, always free. Your phone call's next. I am Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. I am Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. And back to the phones we go, and it's Chris in Miami. Hi, Chris.
Hey,
whoa, come on over to the phone.
Hey.
Hey, Chris. I should be down your way right about this time, come to think of it.
Oh, Happy New Year, Leo. Welcome to 2016.
We're going to, a little peek behind the curtain. I'm on vacation as we speak.
Of course.
But we recorded these ahead of time. And I think that January 2nd, I should be somewhere. Just look out your window. If you see a boat go by, I'm on it. At least that's my fantasy anyway.
You know how hard it is to get you to come to my... Heather Harmon could probably get here soon. Kim, too. But, Leo, you're in Italy. You're in...
I don't travel that. Once a year, I take a nice trip. Maybe twice a year.
Yeah, I know.
You
work a lot of hours, Lee. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Some people think, well, how hard could it be? You work weekends. Yeah. But I don't just work weekends. I got bored working weekends, so I also work during the week. We do more shows, not radio shows, but podcasts all week long. So, yeah, a couple of times a year, I like to kind of kick up my heels, pretend there's no computer problems anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the boat I'm going to be on right about now. The Anthem of the Seas is the most highly technologized boat in the world. The whole thing's run by computers, which means almost certainly I'm sitting floating outside your window, stranded, unable to go because the computer crashed, right? I will be sending back videos of some kind. They say they have
Let me know when you're here because I'll take you out to dinner.
Aren't you nice? Thank you.
Well, you know, I've been with you for a long time.
You have. I'm very grateful.
I've always well, we own a porch with the Whole Foods. You know, I respect you. I'm always polite. You've never given me a reason to say otherwise, and so you know what?
You're a great guy.
Well, you know what? I think you're from Rhode Island. You know, I used to live in Rhode Island for like 15 years.
I knew there was something we had going on there. Yeah.
I used to work for the casinos in Connecticut. I worked for Foxwoods first. I knew a friend of mine from West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mom still lives in Cranston, as does my sister, Eva.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my mom's in California. She's out in San Jose, so she's out your way. And a friend of mine in my company actually just moved out to Los Angeles. So, yeah, maybe I'll head to California one of these and get out of Miami.
There you go. Come sit on my porch.
I'd love to come up to Petaluma. What, are you kidding me? That would be a treat. I'd never leave.
Well, I hope you'd leave eventually, but okay, that's it.
I love you, Chris. Not that much.
Chris, we'd like the guest room back now, Chris. Don't you have somewhere to be? What can I do for you, Chris?
Well, you know, it's the whole last time I called you, it was photos. Now it's iTunes has been. You know what? They called me today and they said, you know what? Someone's going to call you this week, and I'm like, I thought you were calling me about tech support. Like, you know, I'm like, you know, I've had enough, and it's like, but I don't want to lose because I'm paying $10 a month for this hell, Leo.
Yeah.
And I've had enough of it, and it's like there has to be.
Oh, so you're not talking about iTunes? You're talking about this new Apple Music.
Yeah. Well,
what's going on? What's wrong?
Well, you know, if I turn it on, all of a sudden I get the beach ball every click. So I turn it off. And then iTunes works relatively well. But it's like, you know, isn't the two supposed to work together? I am paying $2 a month for this.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. So what it is, did you pay for iTunes Match in the old days?
Well, that's a no-brainer, $24.99 a year.
I agree. I also have an iTunes Match. Okay. So when you turn on Apple Music, and that's a setting both on the iPhone, the iPad, and the desktop, you're kind of taking your existing collection, all the stuff you bought, and adding to it all the stuff that's streaming from Apple Music. But Apple has to keep track of them both. It seems to be, some people have complained. My friend Jim Dalrymple, who's an Apple fanatic, by the way, runs the Loop Apple blog at loopinsight.com. He swore off Apple Music because he claims Apple Music deleted some of his albums that weren't on Apple Music, but he had bought and ripped onto his hard drive, and he never found them again. And the Apple, he spent a lot of time, of course, because he's a famous Apple blogger. Apple gave him a lot of special attention, and they finally said, "Well, we think you probably deleted them and just forgot." It wasn't a very satisfactory answer, so he's sworn off of it. The problem, in my opinion, lies in iTunes. iTunes is, I'm going to use a nice word, superannuated. It's old. And it's in the way, and it's not been rewritten in a long time, and it's very funky. And I think that's really Apple's signal problem at this point. And what they really need to do is rewrite iTunes from scratch. But everything is tacked on, including network support. That's what's, by the way, that's what's happening to you. That beach ball is Apple trying to figure out, well, what does he own? What do we have? And to reconcile those into your library. And it's a mess. So I do think, and you know, everything works better if you turn off Apple Music. I decided not to buy Apple Music for that reason. I use Spotify. Another good choice, Google's Play Music, which both of those are the same price, $10. They don't have the family plan, but they're $10, and they have the same basic streaming library. I just feel like separating that out of iTunes has given me a lot better experience. The one thing that Google does that you might like that Spotify does not, with Google, much like iTunes, your iTunes collection can be uploaded to Google so it can mix the two together. But, you know, Google understands network services a lot better than Apple seems to. That's Google's business. It's a sideline for Apple, and I think Apple still hasn't got the horsepower to do it right. So it's just, I agree. I understand your problem. You're not alone. Even Apple gurus like Jim Dalrymple are bemoaning what's going on. And I think your best bet is to just not use Apple Music, Chris, and use something else. It's going to be very interesting to watch what happens in this space. You remember last year, RDO, the first streaming music service in the United States, went Chapter 11, belly up. Pandora bought the rights, and sometime soon they expect to go into a streaming music business. There are still, there's Apple, there's Amazon, there's Google, there's Microsoft, and there's Spotify, and there's Pandora, and there's a few others, Tidal and Deezer. So it's still a fairly vibrant ecosystem. But I think this in 2016, one of my predictions for this year is that these other non-affiliated services like Spotify are going to be really struggling and may even go under. And it comes from the greed of the music industry, because these companies rely on the music industry for their profits. When you have artists like Taylor Swift and Adele, artists who don't need Spotify, saying, we're not going to, you know what? We don't want to put our albums on streaming music. We want people to buy them. They're big enough they can do that. But what is it? It's very short-sighted, very, in my opinion, selfish. Yes, Taylor Swift's going to do fine. Yeah, Adele had a record-setting album sales. But what about all the other artists who rely on Spotify and these other streaming services to be discovered? No one would know about Adele if they hadn't been playing them on Spotify. So I think Apple will survive, Microsoft will survive, Amazon and Google will survive, because those companies make money in other ways. But companies that are completely dependent upon the music industry. This is going to be a rough year. So maybe you should get to Google Play Music, because Google probably will stay in the business, even if they don't make money on it. It's a frustrating situation, and it makes me a little angry, I'll be honest with you, because we love music. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy, and we go back to the phones with Pete in San Diego. Hello, Pete.
Hi, Leo.
Thanks.
I've got myself in a terrible mess.
Oh, no. What's the matter?
Well, my problem is I'm kind of like I'm your unfunded mini-me. In other words, I think I don't have any way to pay for it. Anyway.
You know why I'm me? Because I wanted to have everything. I wanted to try all this stuff, and I couldn't. Who can afford it, right? And I made a vow to myself. I said, I'm going to get in this. I'm going to become a tech journalist so I can get the latest and greatest, and I can stay up and because I love this stuff. This was, by the way, back in 1980, 1981, and I started writing for magazines like Byte and InfoWorld, and because I could get free software for review, right? And
yeah.
And then you see what happens after 30 or 40 years. Pretty soon, you can't. You're buried. So,
well, you also have accumulated enough funds to be able to do it.
Right. And you know what? People sometimes say, oh, you're showing off. You buy all this stuff. But that's not showing off. It's because I don't want to be beholden to the companies. I want to buy this stuff so I can review it. There's a couple of benefits to that. One is the company doesn't get to send me a special review unit or harass me until I say nice things about them. They don't even know I have it. But the other is I feel your pain. I'm spending my money. When I look at an iPad Pro and I think, God, I spent $1,000 on that. There's no way I'm going to give that a good review. I'm going to say, it's fine for what it is, but is it worth $1,000? Because I feel it. So that's why I use my own money. But Pete, you're using your own money. You have my deepest sympathy.
Thank you. Well, as part of that, over the years, I've gone from Windows, I go the whole hog, the whole platform. And then my son started working for Apple, so I thought, well, let me go with Apple. So I bought everything Apple, and I went on their whole platform. And then I realized the limitations. So
Tim Cook thanks you, by the way.
What's that?
Tim Cook and the stockholders of Apple thank you. It's people like you that have made it the most valuable company in the world.
Yeah, but anyway, so now I'm back on Android. And over the years, this is the heart of my question. It's not really technical. It's more platform-oriented. And I had an IT career for many years, and I learned to go with the vendor, not the product, because the product's going to always change.
Very good point, yeah.
But the thing is, with the vendors now, they're always going to catch up with each other. So I don't know. Here's my situation. I have music. I have a bunch of CDs that aren't ripped. I have most of the music was purchased through Amazon and is still out there online. I have an Amazon Echo, which I love.
Yeah.
and it's a great way to listen to music. I have a few things on Google Play. I also have Google Fi for my phone, so that would make it an option to listen to music.
Well, you buy in. When you buy in, you go all in.
I did.
I like it. You are a mini me, and maybe you're a macro me. I don't know.
Well, I'm a wannabe mini me too, but I haven't quite made it there yet. Because you can figure yourself, you can punch your way out of the wet bag. I can't.
We're tech fans. That's what we are. And the problem with being a tech fan is it's a costly and sometimes frustrating habit.
But anyway, we enjoy it anyway.
Yeah,
right?
It's a great hobby.
It's fun. But then I
could be worse. You could own a sailboat. It could be worse. Trust me. There are worse, more expensive hobbies in the world.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. And during my Apple foray, I bought the entire Beatles collection.
Ah.
Was $100.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, because they are. I'm sorry, I just swallowed my. Excuse me. They are the only company that sells digital Beatles, right?
Right. And
so you have to buy that from Apple.
So then I've got a bunch of CDs. Like I said, I've got some music on some MP3s on OneDrive. So here's the $64,000 question.
Oh man, you're spread it everywhere.
But is there any way I can consolidate that on one?
Yes.
I've heard you talk about this over the years.
Yes.
But I just too tense to comprehend it when you're saying it.
No, let's do this.
Where could I put everything? And I'm probably going to want to go either the Amazon Echo or Google all the way.
Okay. This is a no-brainer because it was more of a problem when copy protection was still being used. Because if you had copy protection, you bought something on iTunes, you had to play it on iTunes. That's gone, right?
Okay.
So you have no copy protection on anything you've purchased online, the Beatles and all of that stuff. Those are just kind of standard, in the case of Apple, AAC files. Anything can play those. The CDs, eventually you're going to want to rip them. My suggestion is when you rip them, that is copy them to a hard drive, you rip them in a format called FLAC. You may be tempted to save hard drive space and use MP3 or AAC or some lossy compression, but you're going to lose data by doing that. If you use FLAC, it doesn't compress as small. It only gets to about half the original size, but you lose no bits. So a FLAC copy of Paul Simon's Graceland is going to be, you could burn that to a CD and it would be exactly identical to the original.
Which is one of my favorite CDs, by the way. I love that.
I chose a good one.
Yes.
So, in fact, I met Paul Simon, had dinner with him, and I went, I'm not worthy. That is the greatest album of all time. I love it. He had some great stories about it. It is really worth it. And, you know, it's a good test because it's beautifully recorded. Mm-hmm. He gave credit to the sound engineer, by the way. He said that guy was a genius because they recorded it all over the world. But it's a good test of your sound system. So when you rip those, don't rip them in some format that's going to degrade it. Rip it into FLAC. Hard drive space is cheap. So that's advice number one. Now, number two, you're going to have this on a hard drive. Make a copy of that hard drive. Keep a good local copy, a backup. But you can also, with either Amazon or Google or Apple, those are the three companies that do this, upload your existing collection to their servers.
The CDs or
no, the rips.
Okay. So even the files from Apple and everything can be uploaded to the other one.
Yeah, because yes, exactly. Now the FLACs you might have to convert and make an MP3 of those because they want MP3s or AACs, but you're going to keep the FLAC for your archival purposes. It's easy to convert to MP3 as a secondary format. That's what will be stored on Amazon or Google or Apple's servers. For Apple, you have to pay for iTunes Match. That's $25 a year. Amazon, you have to pay something comparable to have more than, I can't remember what their limit is. Google, I think, is now some 50,000 songs. They keep increasing the limit. How big is your collection, would you guess?
It's no more than probably 50 or 70 CDs.
Oh, yeah. You'll get all of that. Any of them, you'll get it all for free, except Apple. You have to pay no matter what. Now you have a copy in the cloud, which means you can stream it on any device. If you've uploaded it to Amazon, you can stream it on your Echo. Now, the Echo speakers aren't great, so that's maybe not, a full fidelity way to do it, but you can.
But my hearing is such that I...
You don't care. So that's when you're going to have to... This is how you're going to decide which of those services. So those are the three you're choosing from: Apple, Google, or Amazon. All three allow you to put not only, the the 30 million songs they offer via streaming, but everything you bought. And let's use the Beatles because that's the big one. No, nobody streams Beatles music. So if you want to hear your Beatles songs, I do too, that means you're going to have to pick one of those 3 services. You're going to pay $25 a year to Apple, or you're going to use Amazon or Google, and you're going to upload those songs to their servers. Now, when you stream, it includes the full Beatles collection, everything you own, plus every other record you uploaded, whether they have it on their streaming service or not. Okay? Now, why would you choose one or the other? Well, if you're in the Apple ecosystem, as you well know, best to go with iTunes. It's not my first choice. You heard our last caller, Chris.
Right.
Nightmare. If you really want to use the Echo, you got to use Amazon. If you had Sonos or you used a lot of Android, Google would be a good choice. Google and Amazon both, actually Amazon does not have the same size streaming collection. Its Amazon Prime collection is actually fairly small. So
yeah, it is. Not much on there.
No, it's just a few million. So if you want the full collection of streaming so that the next time Adele comes out with an album, you can listen to it, or someday when her album goes on streaming, and you want your Beatles, it seems like we've narrowed it down. Google. Google Play Music, $10 a month. It's what I use. I also use Spotify, but I love Google Play Music. And it's going to give you all those features. You won't get the Echo. That's the only thing. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Look, look. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's the GizWiz. He's on his way to Las Vegas. Dick DeBartolo, maddest writer, and the GizWiz. And each year, well, it's about 3 days off. We go to Las Vegas. Dick goes to Las Vegas. I stay home if I can.
Yes, you're not going again this year?
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
The Consumer Electronics Show. 10 years ago when I started doing this show in Los Angeles at the great KFI, I did the first few episodes from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas.
Oh, you had a whole studio there.
Yeah. And
it
ever
was
since.
Astounding.
No, I love it. But you get to a point in your career where you just say, can I not go to Las Vegas this year?
Yes, I totally get that.
But fortunately, I've got people like you, Scott Wilkinson, and others who go on my behalf. You're going, right?
I am going. Lisa sent me a Leo Laporte mask.
Well, she did get me a badge, so I have a bad feeling about this. I might. We may have secret plans I haven't learned about.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
What do you go and what are you looking for at CES?
You know, I go and I look for the offbeat stuff. I go to 0 press conferences. I troll the lower floors. I go over to the auxiliary show, which is where all the startups are, all the mom and pop things.
Yeah.
And that's where the most fun is. I mean, you'll find people there that they don't have a prayer ever to sell what they're trying to market. You know, one time this guy had a radio baseball cap, and I said, oh, it's kind of interesting. I said, and the retail, he said $129. I said, sir, ain't gonna happen.
Do you ever do that?
Exactly.
Do you ever actually give him the bad news, or just
you know what?
Smile
you know
and
what?
move on?
I do. There was a guy like at the SEMA show. I thought it was a great idea. A Bluetooth speaker system for cars, where the front seat could talk to the back seat. So if you have a van that has 3 sets of seats, instead of trying to turn around, especially if you're driving, and yell to the back, it is a little system that will be on the dashboard, and a transmitter receiver in the back seat, so you can talk to one another. And they had a little demo there with 2 booths.
Don't make me pull this car over. Knock it off.
Almost. So I said to the guy, you know, it's a very interesting idea. I can see that it's not perfected yet. He said, no, these aren't the final cases. And I said, and what are you looking at for retail? And he said, $200. I said, you know, can I be honest? And he said, please. I said, it's never going to do it. And he said, well, you know, I have to tell you that you're about the 3rd person who told me I have to get it down to $99. I said, well, then you would have a chance. But I think for $200, someone is rather going to turn around and say, hey, do you want to stop for pizza?
Yeah.
Rather than have this little.
You can shout. It's not that far. Unless you have a stretch or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Dick, I know you brought a gadget, so let's take a break. And when we come back, your gadget of the week with Dick DeBartolo.
Yeah, and the reason for it is fascinating.
All right, stay tuned. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Dick DeBartolo is here, and I used up your first part of the segment with chatting about CES. But you
I love chatting about. Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch you from afar, burning the shoe leather. That's going to be great. We'll carry your coverage on this show, of course, next week, and on our Twit network as well. We love to get the report from Vegas. But meanwhile, you did bring us a gadget today.
Yeah, I did. And Leo, this is something I found about a month ago at the Javits Center, the Photo Expo Plus exhibit. So, all the new cameras. I met a friend of mine.
Stuff. I love
Oh, yeah. I met a guy there. He showed me this new $6,000 single reflex camera. So I'm walking down the aisle, and I come to a booth called Lomography.
Oh, yeah. And Lomography is those weird old cameras, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Leo. So he has a camera there. They're introducing, it should be out early January, the Instant Camera Wide. And I said to the guy, instant camera like Polaroid? And he said, yeah. I said, is it still $1 a picture? And he said, yeah, it's still $1 a picture. I said, can I ask, who in the world in this digital age would buy this? Do you know what the answer is?
What?
Young people.
Yes.
He said they've never seen a Polaroid.
Yes.
They think this is amazing. On Kickstarter, they wanted $200,000. They got $1 million.
What?
$1,118,000.
Wow.
So it goes a little beyond the Polaroid. But they're expensive. They're the new wide angle. The regular camera kit's $179, but the shutter's adjustable, and it comes with auxiliary lenses.
It does. I'm looking at it on the Kick. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yes. Yeah. And then the wide also comes with auxiliary lenses. But the wide, they came up with something I thought was very clever. The lens cap is actually also the shutter release. So if you want to do selfies or group shots, you have to take the lens cap off anyway. And so now you use the lens cap to fire the shutter.
That's clever.
Shutter.
That's clever.
Yeah, it's clever.
It's kind of big. I'm looking at it.
It's big, and the wide takes Polaroid-sized pictures.
Do you have to put the prints under your arm or shake them to get them to...
No, you don't.
Where do you get the film? Is this using...
Fuji. Fuji, I believe, is the only company that is still making instant film.
This is the Snapchat generation, right? They want disposable stuff.
Yes.
This is it. I think this is. I can see why they spent the
exactly. And you're absolutely right. The company, they specialize in bringing back. They also had the, I don't know if you remember, it was very short-lived. The camera that had 4 lenses.
Yeah.
And when you click it shot 4 pictures in a row. They make one of those. So it's a fun. Is that your old Polaroid?
It's my Polaroid Captiva. It's an SLR. I don't know where this came from. It's yours? John has it. Can I open it, or is it going to... Yeah. I don't want to develop the film, but it's Polaroid. It can't, right?
Now, but can he get film for that?
You can get film? Apparently. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Meet the swinger, Polaroid swinger. Remember that? Swing it up? Yeah.
Yes, I
Take
do.
a shot.
I do. Amazing.
It's the same film as the Fuji, so this guess there's a market for it.
Maybe that's why vinyl's going to come back.
Vinyl's back. Yep. It's hipsters. It's hipsters.
It's something because my local Barnes & Noble has a banner in the window. We now carry vinyl.
Wait a minute. You have a local bookstore? How retro is that? The books, they're made of paper, dead trees?
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty soon we'll be seeing horses and buggies going down the street in New York City. Oh, wait a minute. I think we already are.
We are, yes.
Actually, is the mayor getting rid of those? Is de Blasio getting rid of those?
The new plan is, actually, I kind of like the new plan. The new plan is to have less horses, but actually house them, build stables within the park.
Make it humane.
so that the horses, I freak out when I see them bringing the carriages from the west side through traffic.
Yeah.
This way, the horses would stay in the park, and then people can still have carriage rides.
Because
So
I
like that
love a
idea.
carriage ride
Yeah,
through Central.
yeah, me too. Me too. Except
find-
last time I had to pull you and Lisa. That was
Well, the horses weren't available, so
they weren't available. I know.
You'll find Dick at gizwiz.biz. That's where all the notes are for all the gadgets he mentions, including this new camera. And, by the way, the great What the Heck Is It contest, a chance to win an autograph copy.
Brand new
of
one
the
starting up.
Brand new one this month. Check it out. Dick, thanks so much. Happy New Year.
The same, pal.
Happy
I'll
New
see
Year
you for
to you all.
CES.
We'll see you next time. Leo Laporte. I am the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today and Tech News Tonight. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.